Last week, I was going through some of my old writing and I pulled out this journal that I was keeping in elementary school. Every day you would have to write this sort of journal, and she'd give you a one page sort of, here's what you write about. And my teacher gave me the subject of individualism, and so I went off on this like crazy tangent. And I look at it now and I'm like, I know where I was going with this. And I bet this teacher did not appreciate it. And then I turn it over and I find out she did not appreciate it. And it was just written about, you have raw talent, but you have to learn how to follow rules. And if you can't follow the rules, then you're never going to get far. And it's interesting because when my first book came out, it didn't follow any rules and still was really successful. And I have so many people who come to me and say, I wrote my book because I read yours and thought, if she can do it this way with like no rules, then I can do whatever I want to as well. And I don't know, that's kind of lovely.
I love hearing that because it's just like the magic of being yourself and just doing like, you just did it your way, the best that you could do it. And it's not that you didn't work hard. You spent years writing, like you put the work in. And I don't know. I love hearing stories like that where it's like an overnight success because it was so authentic and so you, like just different from anything else.
Don't be afraid to break the rules. The book that I'm working on right now, that I've been working on for years, and it's already 3 months past deadline, which is pretty normal for me. As I'm doing it, I'm thinking, what if half of it was written sideways, so that when you're done with the book written this way, you can turn it this way, and then the other
Oh
part
my
of the book is
gosh.
in a different, and every time I think about something like that, I'm like, oh, they're never going to let me do that. But it's shocking how often, if you just ask, they will either say, maybe we never thought about that before. And about half the time, it ends up that they say, yeah, let's try it. Let's test it out.
I love that. That's amazing. I would say most people are too afraid to even go there, right? They might have these ideas, but they're like, oh, they stop themselves. Oh, that's too weird. I'm not even going to ask. Or that's strange. I'm not even going to try. I'm just going to, people are creating within these constructs of what they think is okay. So what advice do you have for creatives to go deeper into that authenticity? Because it is scary. You don't know if it's going to succeed or not.
It is really terrifying. I would say look at the things that you like, because when I look at I read constantly. I love to read and I love to collect art. And so my whole house is filled with the weirdest art. And the books that I love the most are the strangest books. They're the books that I try to, explain them to someone and they go, "Wait, what? What is it?" Like, "No, you don't understand. Oh my gosh, you're going to read it and you're going to love it. It's so incredible." But all of those things, that artist or that author or that songwriter or that whatever, they could have stopped and said, "Oh, this is too weird. This is too, you know what? I should just make a book like everybody else's, and it's going to have like this particular arc, and it's going to go this particular way, and it's going to." But here's the deal: is that book probably already exists. There's probably
Mhm.
lots of that book, but there's not going to be a book that you come up with yourself and say, I'm going to take a chance on doing something a little bit weird. And the same thing with art. The art in my house is the strangest, darkest, weirdest. People walk into my house and they're like, "Is that a full size taxidermy Pegasus?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it is, but it's not real because Pegasuses don't exist." And they're like, "But how?" I'm like, "Well, it's like it's fake fur, and then it's on this mannequin and these are goose wings, and then they're
Wow.
like, "Okay, all right, is this a full sized goat sitting cross legged reading a book on your couch?" And I'm like, "It is, but he died of natural causes." So, and it just every single thing has a story, and it's not for everyone, but everything in this house is something that someone took a chance on and thought, no one is going to want this crazy thing. And I wanted it.
Someone did. Yeah. You're
Exactly.
so
Like,
right.
there's a song that's called, it's from this musical called Title of Show, and I think it's called Nine Favorite Things. And the lyrics are, I'd rather be 9 people's favorite thing than 100 people's ninth favorite thing. And so it's all about like, you may have a small group of people who get it, but those people are loud and they want you, and you're going to be able to find the people who see you for who you are, and then you're going to inspire them, and then they're going to do art, and they're going to write, and that's how the world keeps going.
Yeah, I love this as a reminder for all creatives, right? It's not about appealing to everyone. It's about finding what makes you happy, what you love, and trusting that it will find its audience. You will find your people.
Exactly.
Love that. Okay, let's talk a little bit more about your books. I mean, you've written a lot of books, but which is your favorite?
I think the first one is my favorite just because it
It's so
gives a
personal.
full, yeah, and it gives a full, like, here's from my birth until kind of here's where I am. And so I think it's such a good sort of starting place. And I was able to use, because I really thought I was like, I'm only going to write one book ever. And so I'm going to get all my best stories out. And then after it came out and it became really popular, my agent was like, so what's next? And I was like, oh, well, I haven't lived life, so I don't know. And it took a while before I finally realized, oh, okay, well, this is what book 2 is going to be about. And then book 3 happened accidentally because I was in the process of, my next book was due and I was so stuck. And I was dealing with a lot of depression and anxiety, and everything that I wrote, I would immediately delete. But I also felt like I had like constipation of the brain where I needed to create something, but I didn't like anything that I was writing. And so instead, I started doing doodles. And so I would draw these they're not great, but they're just pen and ink doodles. And as I was doing them, I would just write little words of, here's the thing that I'm thinking at the time, and here's what's getting me through. And I would share them, and suddenly all of these people started to not only really love them, but they started showing up as tattoos. All of these people were like, can I get this tattoo? I'm like, why would you? You should get a much better tattoo. They're like, no, this one, this is the one that speaks to me. And so what happened was, it ended up that as sort of a stopgap where I was like, well, I need to do something. I was like, what if I just publish this as like a coloring book? And so that's where You Are Here came from, just as a, this will buy me time so that I can have more time to work on my next book. And it became a New York Times bestseller, which I didn't even know coloring books could be. Sometimes, your life puts you on this weird path where you think, I'm not supposed to be here. I'm failing. Everything is going wrong. But maybe it's a path you're supposed to be on.
Yeah.